Hey there, cardomancers. Hexa here on Tarot and Witchery, and today I have a deck review. Fran Ciesler's The Anatomy of Healing Oracle deck. Really lovely. As usual, I'm going to tell you what I think about it. I've worked with the deck, so I'm going to tell you how I think it reads, some uses for it. I'm going to show you some pairings for it, and also some different ideas for working with it. I'm going to be referencing my ideas from Oracle series. If you haven't seen those videos, go check them out. They're really cool. They're going to give you some great ideas for working with these. I think you'll really like it. Also, I've got some really cool classes coming out, and if you want to be a part of that, sign up for my newsletter down below. We just ran my Reading Intuitively class, which filled up. Super fun. That was so great. I'm doing interactive classes where I'm online with you. I'm not talking at you. I'm talking with you. And it was just so much fun. So if you're interested in being a part of that, sign up down below. And now, without further ado, The Anatomy of Healing Oracle cards by Fran Ciesler. As you all know, I work with these decks before. This is not just a flip through, but while I talk about it, I am going to flip through. First of all, really nice box. Got a ribbon. Good size booklet here, and there are different aspects. We'll talk about the book here in a little bit. There are different aspects, different cards with different aspects, and you can see them here. They're color coded in the book. All right, as you know, I'm not a fan of these boxes, but everybody seems to use them. Maybe it's just like an industry standard thing. I'm not sure. Here are the backs. It's a good size card that fits in your hand. As you know, I do not riffle shuffle. So I can't tell you what it's like to riffle shuffle it, but I can tell you that it overhand shuffles really, really easily. These are gorgeous line drawings. As you can see here, she's an amazing artist, and she's actually a tattoo artist as well. I think if you were in Germany, you could get a tattoo from her if you were interested in her line work. But you can see here what the cards are like themselves. Each one is numbered. And then, of course, it has the name of the organ or muscle, bone, tissue. Yeah, it's all body related. So they'll have the name of it up there. And then it has a little catchphrase here, but there's actually more than that going on in the book. There are keywords that go along with each card as well. And then there's some really neat prompts in the book. So we'll talk about that in a minute. It allows me to really dive deeply into an aspect of my body and think about how that aspect influences my everyday life. You can see that there are plants on here. There's one thing I don't particularly like about this deck, and it's that she doesn't tell me what the plants are. I know a lot of these plants, or I think I do. I think I know a lot of these plants, but I would have liked to have known what the plants were and what their association to the part of the body is, like why she chose them. So you've got the outer organs, the reproductive organs, the bones and muscles, the circulatory system. And at the beginning of each section, like here's the inner organs. Sorry, there's the inner organs. Sorry, inner and outer organs. I knew I was forgetting one. At the beginning of each section, you'll see a page that shows each one. And you can see that it's color-coded, which is really nice. It's got the card itself on here. And it's got some interesting facts about it. And so you've got like a little thing here on the heart, may beat more than 3.5 billion times by the end of a long life. So one of the things that's very interesting about these cards is that whether it's the inner or the outer or the muscles, whatever it is, each section kind of has a different way that the book is formatted. So you'll have something about the organ or body part itself right here, and it's what it symbolizes, but then it kind of goes into really talking about how this relates to your life and how you're feeling. And I think that's really important because we're talking about the body, and this is really about getting into the feelings that we're having. In this section, in the inner organs, She has connect, reflect on, and then she has these really cool questions. But then you move over to, here's the outer organs, the senses. This was really fun. To connect, ask. And then on this one, it starts with to connect, ask, which I thought was really interesting. This one back here, to connect, reflect on. Let's just read one to you so you can get the idea of it. Our hands help us communicate, whether through gestures, holding hands, offering a helping hand, or reaching out. They can provide comfort, show respect, offer protection, or express various emotions. For instance, clenching a fist can convey anger, while waving goodbye can evoke feelings of sadness or happiness. Interestingly, our hands also hold the power to manifest and offer healing touch in spiritual practices like Reiki. In some contexts, an open hand channels energy and intentions, becoming our vessel. Oops, I lost my place. Becoming our vessel. Besides, our hands aid in creating art, music, and other crafts, providing an avenue for finding harmony and balance within. In times of need, a comforting touch from another's hand can be deeply healing. Last but not least, they remind us that we can let go and do not need to hold on to everything. So that kind of gives you a feel for the book. And then it says to connect, reflect on. How do my hands feel today? When was the last time mine or somebody else's hands brought me comfort? What am I trying to reach? What do my hands want to create? And what can I remove from my plate? And this is where these connection points that she puts in here are great jumping off points for using other decks. So I'm going to go into the pairings that I'm going to suggest here. I'm going to suggest certain decks. You'll find them down below. If they're not down below, I've mentioned them on here. So if you didn't hear it, just go back and listen again. Pay attention. I'm going to talk about the type of deck that I'm connecting. And you may have a deck in your collection already that you can use to pair with this deck. All right, here's a deck that probably a lot of you have, is the Hush Tarot by Jeremy Hush. First of all, look at the colors together, even just the backs. I feel like the color palette on here is really lovely, very congruent. The two of these I feel like they really go together really, really well. I just felt like, yeah, I love the color palette. I like the illustration style, how the illustration style melds together. And if you don't have the Hush Tarot, this is kind of a reflective, a little bit creepier sort of tarot to some people, and yet kind of has that fae realm, so otherworldly. And when we're dealing with the inside of our body, or our body from a really anatomical perspective, it can feel a little foreign. We're not used to relating to our body in these terms. And so I feel like the energies to this are even a little bit congruent. So if you're looking to tap into yourself and this deck in a way that's going to feel as though you're being guided to embrace your body and the world from just a slightly more magical and different perspective, where you're willing to embrace things that feel odd and different, I feel like the Hush Tarot is just an amazing way to do this. Again, the color palette on this, perfect match. This is kind of matchy. If you think you have a matchy deck, let me know down below what it is. The next one, again, in the same sort of color palette, is the Transient Light Tarot by Ari Wisner. I never know if I'm saying that right. This is a minimalist deck, and very matchy. I really like this is the only minimalist deck that I have, and I really like it. Also, the Transient Light Tarot here, the book on this is really cool. It's got poetry at the beginning of the major arcana, and it really works well. I feel like because these are so detailed, having something that's a little bit less detailed for a tarot kind of feels nice. It feels relaxing. It feels like I can just let myself get grounded into what's going on, and I can just kind of dive in that way. How I might use the tarot and oracle, this oracle and tarot together, is you know, getting a card here and then elaborating on the message that I got in here with tarot messages. And so again, the Transient Light Oracle by Ari Wisner. Somebody can tell me if it's a long eye or a short eye down below. That would be great. And I really like that. Okay, next is a deck that I'm going to be featuring on my channel next week. I'm going to be doing a review on this. It's the Secret Mirror Tarot. This actually just finished its funding, and it now has a color version that is coming out. So this is the Secret Mirror Tarot. Backs are really cute. And again, I will be talking about this next week. The reason why I chose this is because, again, the line drawing to the line drawing, it just has a little pop of color. This is a Rider-Waite-Smith clone with a twist on it. It just like they have, because I don't know if this is male or female, they have done a wonderful job in kind of adding some unique things to some of the cards that really bring it to life. But again, I'll be talking about this tarot next week. You'll see a premiere of this tarot, and I will show you some of the color cards, and that campaign is just going live right now. Yeah, so I like this because it brings the ornate feel of the drawings here to life, and it feels as though it's very congruent. And because the Rider-Waite-Smith, if you read Rider-Waite-Smith, is so easy, is so incredibly easy to dive into, it makes the messages here excuse me, which I feel like tend to be, she's very straight. Fran is very straightforward. You know, the Anatomy of Healing Oracle cards is very straightforward in its presentation and what it has to say, but it goes deep. It really hits in a way that you're like, wow, I really need to think about, that and dive in a little bit deeper. And so I feel like having a deck that is less challenging to read, so maybe just your good old Rider-Waite-Smith, or using a deck that is very easy for you to read when you're getting these messages about yourself, is a really good way to go. Last tarot deck before I go on to Oracle cards is the Brady Tarot. So the Brady Tarot. That's my puppy barking. Sorry if you can hear that terrible barking. He's a barker. Strider is a barker. Total pop of color, you can see here. But I really like, this is wood blocks, and I really liked the way the two of these go together. But the reason why I chose the Brady Tarot, and this is the other kind of tarot that you might want to choose, is this is such an earthy tarot. And the purpose for me of using this deck is to get into my body and to really hear messages that bring me back to myself. So using a very earthy tarot in conjunction with the Anatomy of Healing Oracle is going to allow me to kind of do that. And again, I think the color palette and the line drawing is lovely. This is one of my favorite earthy decks. This is such a clear reader for me, and the book is amazing. If you don't have the Brady Tarot, you should check it out, because it really is just a gorgeous tarot. I think this is the last deck that Rachel Pollack wrote the book for. So that might be something that's kind of interesting to you as well. Next, I'm going to move on to the, oops, I'm having trouble getting this in there. Sorry, everyone. Next, I'm going to move on to Oracle decks. Here's an Oracle that probably none of you know of. This is by Sonia Miller. It's called Receive Oracle Cards. So these cards are such good readers. Just a pop of color. Again, not getting too overly involved, because I do feel that the Anatomy of Healing Oracle is complex enough in itself. So here she writes, and I'm going to do a full review on Sonia Miller's Receive Oracle cards, and there's a link down below to this deck if you're interested in it. Cards all the way through, like this has suits, this also kind of has suits. So these are really simple. Simply be, I'm willing to wake up to all of the ways that I am constantly receiving. Receive with ease. So you receive your wants, you receive with ease, you receive soothing. There's different ways. So I feel like you can get this card, you can get the Anatomy of Healing card and kind of have this message, and then you can come over here and this would be your power card. So again, if you haven't seen my ideas for oracles, go look at what the power card is. You can use this as a power card in order to tap into this, nurture yourself. Soothe your mind. I am willing to allow thoughts to simply be here, rest and breathe, receiving soothing. So I feel like, again, this just helps bring the messages home. The Receive Oracle cards by Sonia Miller. And again, I will actually do a more in-depth review of this deck for you so that you can see it, and maybe even have Sonia on to kind of talk about what inspired her to make this deck. Next, of course, because we've got plants on here, I'm going to go for good old Woodland Wardens by Jessica Rue. I have a before you buy on this. If you're interested, just go look up before you buy Woodland Wardens and it'll come up. It's definitely one of my most watched videos on here. Look at the backs. Love these backs. Colors are really nice again, very soft. And what makes this so nice is that you're going to have an animal and a plant that you're going to talk to. Very short messages in the book here, so you're not getting overly complicated. And you're going to be able to take this message and then pair it. And again, we're talking about really earthy elements here, right? Because our body is grounded. We are here. We want to be in our body. We want to be listening to the messages of our body. We want to be healing our body, the anatomy of healing in our body, using our body, connecting with our body. And I feel as though the Woodland Wardens, first of all, I chose the Woodland Wardens because this is a lighter message. I feel as though the Woodland Warden deck has a feeling of being a little bit more lighter, a little bit more playful, so you don't feel as though you're getting too intense if you've got an intense message here already. So by using the Woodland Wardens deck, you kind of allow yourself to tap into this message and then have a way to play with it a little bit more, just be a little bit more playful with the message and not so serious. Okay. Next, we have the Liminal Forest by MJ Cullinan. This is a newer deck. She just released it. I pre-ordered this deck. I love MJ. You all have heard me say, I love MJ. So let's go for color. Let's go for some real color. Now, let me just say, if you have any of MJ's decks, then you absolutely know that these decks are not light. These decks are pretty intense. She has a way of getting deep in there and really exposing things. And so I feel like if you're really wanting to go a little bit deeper and allow yourself to, get a deeper message, this is a great way to go, is with this Liminal Forest deck by MJ Cullinan. I feel like the two of these, for me, bringing the color in, I love color. I love that this is kind of sepia. The healing, the anatomy of healing is sepia. And then this is a really saturated color palette. It kind of like, here you have this message. It's very earthy. It's very grounded. It's trying to get you to really look at yourself and embrace yourself. And then you have this pop of color here that helps the message become more technicolor. So you might use this as a superpower card. So if you haven't seen the superpower yet, look up the superpower card on Ideas for Oracles. So you might use MJ's deck as a superpower card to allow you to dive in deep and maximize whatever lesson is coming forward for you from the Anatomy of Healing cards. Okay, last, and then I'm going to tell you about some ways that you can work with this deck. So the Magical Herb Oracle by Cheryl Darcy. I have a before you buy on this one as well that you can watch. So just look that up. Before you buy, you'll see. So pretty. The colors go together really nicely. And so again, I feel like herbs Herbs and body go together, and the color palette is really soft and lovely. But I feel like, again, herbs, it's going to allow me to really get into my body, to ground, to pull something out that's going to really help me to relate to the natural kingdom so that I can be as grounded as possible in the message. And I feel like that is what this Anatomy of Healing deck has done for me, has really brought forward the ways in which I can honor my body more and be present with what I'm going on. I think sometimes we can get into our decks and get a little heady, and then we just miss the forest for the trees. We really, really miss the forest for the trees, and we just get into all the stuff that the cards are saying, and we don't actually do the work of applying it. And I think these two decks just ground me in myself. So again, the Magical Herb Oracle by Sherilyn Darcy. Okay, so let's talk about what I feel like this is has a great use for. One of the things that I think you can do with this is use this as an intention card. If you haven't watched my video on intention cards, this is such a good deck for that, because you can go through and you can actually find what it is that you're needing to work on right now. And you can pull that out as your intention card and then allow yourself to either set that up on your altar and work with it. You can come back to the book over and over again and read it. You could take and put this out and do one question a day, like from the Reflect On or Ask This, and things to think about. You could do one question a day with it. You could keep these cards out as your intention for the week and then draw a different tarot card for each day to tell you how you can engage with the card. You could also use these as anchor cards. And again, that's in my ideas for oracles. So anchor cards are so wonderful for allowing you to hang out on a revelation and really allow yourself to get into the message. Really, like if you have a reading and you're like, wow, this is really big, I need to understand what's going on with myself, then you draw an anchor card. And I go into depth a little bit more in the video by far. Using this, shuffling, and the way I've actually used this is with the fan method. I've fanned it out on the table and ran my hand over it and just thought, like, what do I need to hear right now? What, because again, for me, I'm really wanting to get into my body and understand my healing right now and get to the wholeness that I'm really seeking. And this has just helped me to really ground into that. And again, a clear reader. Special thanks to Fran for sending me this deck to review. I've really enjoyed it, and I really want to encourage you to go check it out. The Anatomy of Healing by Fran Ciesler. She sent it to me. I got it right. Did I get it right, Fran? Did I get it right? If you made it all the way to the end of this video, then go ahead and leave me a comment down below about what you think of this. Is there something that you feel would pair better with it? Is there some way that you feel as though this would fill a hole in your library? Let me know down below. And again, if you have other pairings for it, I'd really like to hear about it. Until we meet again, may you really take the time to get grounded in your body, to be present with who you are and do the healing work that you're needing at this moment.